What's up, y'all? So, there's a major update in the case of the Minnesota shooter that gunned down those two Minnesota representatives this past weekend. He is now in police custody as of making this video. And I got the article right here from ABC News, and I'm going to play this video for you guys that where this gentleman here talks about the entire situation. So, with that being said, make sure y'all like this video, share this video, and subscribe if you're brand new, and let's get into this.
Update on the arrest of the suspect in the Minnesota shootings. Let's listen.
Political assassinations are rare. They strike at the very core of our democracy. But the details of Boelter's crime are even worse. They are truly chilling. It is no exaggeration to say that his crimes are the stuff of nightmares. Boelter stalked his victims like prey. He went to their homes, held them out as a police officer, and shot them in cold blood. Now, there's been a lot of information and misinformation out there about Boelter's crimes. We have filed a detailed 20-page complaint and affidavit that sets forth what happened in this case. I'd like to share some of that information with you now. In the early morning hours of June 14th, Boelter went to the homes of 4 Minnesota state politicians with the intent to kill them. Boelter first traveled to the home of Minnesota State Senator John Hoffman in Champlin, Minnesota. Boelter arrived at the senator's home disguised as a police officer. He arrived in a black SUV with emergency lights turned on and with a license plate that read police. Boelter wore a black tactical vest and body armor. He carried a flashlight and a Beretta 9mm handgun. He also wore a hyper-realistic silicone mask. Senator Hoffman had a security camera. I've seen the footage from that camera, and it is chilling. Boelter knocked on Senator Hoffman's front door and repeatedly shouted, "This is the police, open the door." Senator Hoffman and his wife, Yvette, came to the door. When they opened the door, Boelter shined the flashlight in their faces and said there had been a shooting reported in the house. Boelter asked if they had any weapons. When Boelter lowered his flashlight, which he had shined in their face, they realized that he was not a police officer. They shouted out, "You're not a cop. You're not a police officer." Boelter then announced, "This is a robbery," and forced himself into their home. When Senator Hoffman attempted to push Boelter out and stop him from entering his home, Boelter shot him repeatedly. Boelter then shot Miss Hoffman repeatedly. Boelter fled the scene, and the Hoffman's daughter called 911. Unfortunately, the Hoffmans survived, although they remain hospitalized. After shooting Senator Hoffman and his wife, Boelter traveled to the home of another Minnesota state representative in Maple Grove, Minnesota. Video surveillance showed that Boelter rang the doorbell at the state representative's house at approximately 2:24 a.m. on Friday night. Again, he was dressed as a law enforcement officer, wearing a tactical vest and body armor, carrying a handgun and a flashlight, and wearing that same hyper-realistic silicone mask. Again, the images, as you can see on the screen, are haunting. Now, fortunately, the state representative was not home. She and her family were gone on vacation, and so Boelter left. Boelter then traveled to the home of a Minnesota state senator who lived in New Hope.
Man, this gets very scary the more I listen to this. I'm not gonna lie. This man was so deranged. He was able to track down where these people lived to unalive everybody that voted, with the Republicans.
Minnesota. He parked in the street in that same black SUV with the police license plate. At about 2:36 a.m. on Friday night, after learning of the shooting of Senator Hoffman, New Hope police dispatched an officer to conduct a wellness check on the state senator who lived in New Hope. When the New Hope officer arrived at the scene, she saw Boelter's black SUV parked down the block with the lights on. The New Hope police officer believed that Boelter was a police officer who had been dispatched to the scene to check on the status of the state senator. The New Hope police officer pulled up next to Boelter in his car, rolled down her window, and attempted to speak with him. Boelter did not respond. According to the officer, he just sat there and stared straight ahead. So the New Hope police officer, who had been dispatched to the scene, proceeded to the state senator's home, and she waited for other law enforcement to arrive. When they did, by the time they did, Boelter had left the scene. Boelter then traveled to Brooklyn Park, Minnesota, in the home of Minnesota State Representative Melissa Hortman. At approximately 3:30 a.m., Boelter arrived at Representative Hortman's house in his black SUV with the police license plates. He parked in the driveway and left the emergency lights on his SUV flashing, as if he was a police officer. Boelter approached Representative Hortman's home, again dressed as a police officer, wearing the tactical vest and body armor, and wearing that hyper-realistic mask. He was armed and carrying a flashlight. Before he entered the home, 2 Brooklyn Park police officers arrived at the scene. They too had been dispatched to check on Representative Hortman after learning of the shooting of Senator Hoffman. When they arrived at the scene, they saw Boelter's black SUV parked in the driveway with the emergency lights flashing, and they saw Boelter standing in front of the house several feet from the door. When Boelter saw the officers get out of the car, he drew his weapon and began firing. He rushed into the house through the front door, firing into it. He repeatedly fired into the house, and when he entered, he murdered Representative Hortman and her husband, Mark. The Brooklyn Park police officers fired at Boelter as he rushed into the home, but he escaped into the home and out the back. Officers recovered Boelter's 9mm Beretta, along with the body armor.
Look at that. That man just looks crazy.
And the mask behind the home along his path of flight when he fled on foot. They later searched Boelter's car, where they found 5 more firearms, including assault-style rifles and a large quantity of ammunition. Boelter also had in his car notebooks containing a list of more than 45 Minnesota state and federal elected officials, including Representative Hortman. Now, Boelter planned his attack carefully. He researched his victims and their families. He used the internet and other tools to find their addresses and names, the names of their family members. He conducted surveillance of their homes and took notes about the location of their homes. He also prepared in other ways. He concealed himself as a police officer, outfitting his black SUV with police lights and a police license plate, wearing a black tactical vest and body armor, carrying a police flashlight and a handgun. And of course, he wore that hyper-realistic silicone mask as seen on the surveillance videos. The video of his arrival and shooting of Senator Hoffman is truly chilling. Again, it's no exaggeration to say this is the stuff of nightmares.
It absolutely is. I'm gonna end it right there. Man, it really says something about a person that will sit back and plan all of that, all because you disagree on one particular bill that's supposed to, help the illegal aliens of the state of Minnesota out, that a couple of Democratic representatives voted with Republicans on, instead of voting in the opposite way. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this dude is beyond. I can't even say he's Trump deranged. It must be worse than that. He's anything pro America deranged, if you ask me. It's absolutely wild. It's absolutely wild. I'm gonna read a little bit of this article. The man suspected of shooting and killing a Minnesota lawmaker and her husband, well as shooting and wounding a second lawmaker and his wife, stalked his victims like prey. Man, and these are the representatives that he did unalive. It's absolutely crazy. Again, the man, his name is Vance Boelter. Vance Boelter, 57 years old, man. You threw it all away. You threw it all away because these two decided to not vote on the same side that you're on. And these two are Democrats, by the way. Let's keep that in mind. These two are Democrats, and how dare they? How dare they vote in the opposite direction of what the left is being known for now, is being pretty much anti-America, if we're being real. They've always been pro illegal immigration because they wanted more and more of these people to come into the country for the simple fact that they get guaranteed support from them specifically. They used to get it from Black Americans, but you can't really rely on that anymore. They can't rely on that anymore because, and plus, I think Democrats don't really mess with Black people like that. If I'm being honest, but most Black people still continue to vote for these people, hook, line, and sinker at like a 90+% rate every single time, and they do absolutely nothing for Black people. They just want the votes because they know that's a guaranteed voting block, so they don't have to do shit for Black people. But I try to tell the average Black person that they don't want to hear it. So I think this is what the inside of his it's kind of hard to see. Let me see if I can zoom this in a little bit. Hold on. Okay. So here's a better view. Ah, jeez. Stupid ads. Okay, so here's a better look at what the inside of his black SUV looked like. See that gun right there? You see all his equipment and all that. It's man, he really came prepared for this. He was ready to take the lives of these people without question. And here's that. Okay, so here's the mask he was wearing. That's hyper realistic. I mean, this looks like a very old. Almost looks like Jigsaw from the Saw movies without any hair. That's what this kind of looks like, at least to me. But you can let me know what y'all think about that. And there's his mugshot right there. I'm glad they finally got this guy because this dude, he couldn't be on the streets much longer. He could have done harm to so many other state representatives had they not caught this guy. You know, I'm glad he's finally in police custody and he can finally be taken to prison where he needs to sit and rot for the rest of his life. Or if it were solely up to me, I would give this dude the electric chair. Just get him out of here. Like, cause him spending life in prison, that's just a slap on the wrist. He deserves he doesn't deserve to live still. That's just my opinion. But let me know what you guys think about all this. Are you glad that they got this guy? Do you see why he was such a horrible person and things like that? Do you think what do you think of this mask? This is crazy right here. This is absolutely crazy. You know what I mean? But give me your thoughts and opinions down below in the comment section. Also, make sure you hit the description hit the link in my description. I don't know why I keep messing that up. Hit the link in my description to support this channel directly and also to follow me on other social media platforms. And until next time, y'all, have a good one.